talk about ghosts, we always ought to see those in forests, abandoned buildings, remote islands, old hotels, and others. Almost never did we thought about having those scary and disturbing true stories in our workplaces and office. There are lots of places where lost spirits and ghosts exist trying to send messages to present occupants. Some actually saw unusual things in the buildings where they work. Others don't see supernatural beings. They feel it. 10. Ghosts in the Capitol. At the Eisenhower Executive Office building in Washington, D.C. employees whisper about ghostly apparitions they say roam the stately building's halls at night. Built in the French Second Empire style and located close to the White House, the 19th century edifice exudes an air of mystery. The resident ghosts are particular and seem to prefer the corridors of the building rather than any of the private offices. The offices of one nonprofit business in Washington, D.C. are home to ghostly spirits who love to keep the office workers on edge. One woman, whose office on the 3rd floor was known informally as the Ghost Room, reported being alone in the building one night when she began hearing the sound of slamming doors in the outside hall. She opened her office door and looked out, but saw no one. After closing the door, she heard another door slam, and then the shuffling of footsteps approaching her door. While she listened, the footsteps grew louder and then softer as they moved down the hallway, followed by the unnerving sound of a female voice laughing. 9. We want to stay here, the ghost says. Theories abound as to why some spirits haunt particular office buildings. These include workaholic souls who had an affinity for a particular place, people who may have died suddenly or tragically in the building, or even those that lived on the same spot long before the modern structure was built. An office manager in a doctor's office was working late after everyone else had gone home. While filling out some paperwork, she looked up and saw an elderly man standing before her. Annoyed, she asked him how he had gotten in. He answered her with a sinister smile, then walked silently through the front door. Upon investigation, she learned that an elderly man had died in the building years before and had a tendency to make regular appearances, especially around the anniversary of his death. Office buildings aren't the only businesses visited by ghostly spirits. One evening at closing time, a bank guard noticed an elderly woman dressed in black. He called out to the woman and told her the bank was closing and she would have to leave. As he approached her, she smiled and vanished right before his eyes, leaving him standing there dumbfounded. Whoever she was or had been, the ghost had no intention of ever leaving the bank. 8. Ghost or Us. Employees at the former Toys R Us store in Sunnyvale, California were more than familiar with the other side. People reported seeing bathroom faucets turning themselves on and toys moving down the store aisles at night. Employees of this haunted toy store also reported seeing ghostly, fog-like apparitions and even free-floating frisbees. Some businesses, such as Captain John Stone's Public House and the Groveland Hotel, embrace their haunted history and ghostly residents as a way to attract curious visitors. In these establishments, the ghosts not only haunt the place, but have become an integral part of the success of the business. 7. Princess Theatre, Melbourne. Transformed in 1857 and converted into a performance space, the Princess Theatre in Melbourne is home to a friendly spirit, Frederick Federici. Frederick Federici was an actor who performed in a range of operas and operettas in the mid-1880s around Australia, before residing in Melbourne, Australia. When he arrived in Melbourne in 1888, he successfully gained a role in the production of Faust. Unfortunately, during his first performance of Faust at the Princess Theatre, he came to learn his fate. Frederick Federici fell through a trapdoor as part of his performance, suffering a fatal heart attack as he fell. Before the final curtain was closed, he had tragically passed away. It has been reported that members of the audience and cast remember seeing Frederick on stage bowing with the entire production cast. Many of the current staff of the Princess Theatre regularly experience what they believe are mysterious and supernatural visits from Mr. Federici. They now also have a tradition whereby they reserve one seat in the theater for every opening performance night, in case he decides to drop by. 6. Australian College of Wine. The Australian College of Wine in Victoria was once home to the Aradali Lunatic Asylum. With many terrifying and unnerving stories told over the years, it's become a known supernatural location where people frequently experience mysterious encounters from those that have passed on. Opened in 1864, the Aradali Lunatic Asylum was Australia's largest mental hospital. With thousands of patients in 60 different buildings, there are many tales that live on. There was said to have been over 13,000 passed on from the asylum's 130-plus years of operation, and it seems many still walk the halls. In 1998, the Aradali Lunatic Asylum closed down, and 3 years later reopened as the Australian College of Wine. Since reopening, there have been many reports of people experiencing ghostly encounters, leaving many with a chilling feeling. 5. Q Station Manly, located at North Head in Manly, NSW. Q Station is considered one of the most haunted places in Australia. Whilst it is an attraction for locals and tourists, employees who work here would feel the paranormal activity from haunted souls on a daily basis. The Q Station employees and visitors would often experience eerie vibes and chilling visits from restless spirits who once frequented the region. With stories told about the past life of these ghosts, it's enough to put you on edge. Even before walking into the building, Q Station offers many experiences from short ghost encounters all the way through to spirit-searching sleepovers. 4. National Art School, the Old Darlinghurst Gaol. It's said that the ghost of the 76 people who were executed at the Old Darlinghurst Gaol between 1841 and 1907 still haunt the building to this day. From bushrangers to petty criminals, this Darlinghurst Gaol was once home to many ghoulish criminals. In 1914, the gaol closed its doors for good, and in 1922 the gaol was converted into a technical college. Before becoming the home of the National Art School, many students and guards over the years have reportedly sensed the spookiness that lurks around the premises and the presence of those that have passed on, especially at night. Today, you can now find the beautiful old sandstone building filled with ceramic ovens, art supplies, artworks, and many different sculptures. The old women's building is now home to many different contemporary dance and music performances. 3. Campbelltown Town Hall Theater. Legend has it that Fred Fisher departed from his Campbelltown home, located on the premises of the Campbelltown Town Hall Theater in 1826, and disappeared without a trace. For months later, it was reported that a local farmer had seen the ghost of Mr. Fisher amongst his fields and pointed out clues surrounding his disappearance. The spooky clues that were given by the spirit of Mr. Fisher actually lead the authorities to unravel the case, resulting in murder charges being laid. Employees and regular attendees have said they often experience creepy feelings throughout the theater. Some of the most common encounters include electrical equipment turning on by itself, creaking floors and doors slamming for no apparent reason. In memory of Fred Fisher, the theater installed a plaque behind the A1 seat. The plaque reads, "This seat was sponsored by Fred Fisher. May he rest in peace." 2. The Bullocks Wilshire Building, Los Angeles. Built in 1929 as a luxury department store on Wilshire Boulevard, near Vermont Ave, this Art Deco icon attracted many famous shoppers in its day, including Clark Gable, Carole Lombard, Greta Garbo, Walt Disney, Mae West, Marlene Dietrich, Alfred Hitchcock, and John Wayne. Today the building, known as both the Imagnon, Bullocks and Bullocks, Wilshire, is part of the Southwest Law School. Although the final scene of the film Ghostbusters was shot on top of it in the early 1980s, that's far from the building's only claim to haunting fame. According to the website Paranormalistics, there's a rumor that, back in the 1930s, a man pushed a young girl into the elevator shaft, letting her fall to her death. During the law school renovations, a security guard working reported hearing a girl crying in the elevator shaft. Also during the renovation, construction workers reported finding secret passageways leading from the late owner John G. Bullock's penthouse to various parts of the building. Other oddities reported included lights turning on and off by themselves, windows and shades opening and closing on their own, and footsteps heard on the stairway. And several construction workers actually resigned after being spooked by unexplained occurrences in the building's clock tower. 1. The Bradbury Building, Los Angeles. The Bradbury Building, at 300 for Broadway at West 3rd Street in downtown Los Angeles, currently home to many businesses as well as the law. Police Department's Office of Internal Affairs is said to have a spirit or two dwelling in its basement. But that's hardly surprising, given that the design of this landmark building was partly the work of an actual ghost. Yes, that's right. In 1893, Louis L. Bradbury grew impatient with local architect Sumner Hunt, so he offered the commission to Hunt's $5 per week draftsman George Wyman, age 32. Instead, not being an architect, Wyman was understandably nervous, so he and his wife consulted his late younger brother Mark, who had died 6 years earlier, using a planchette with a pencil attached. Paranormal experts believe that the heart-shaped, wooden planchette can be activated from beyond the grave. According to Wyman, the planchette spelled out, "Take Bradbury Building. It will make you famous." Though the word Bradbury was written upside down, Wyman took his brother's advice and created the renowned Bradbury Building, an Italian Renaissance structure with an interior that is one of the most magnificent architectural office designs in the world, and has been used as a setting for many films, including The Artist and Blade Runner. Thanks for watching. If you want more scary stories, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like this video, share the stories to your friends,